Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting edition of the internationally known Two Bucks Sports Podcast. I'm your co-host Rusty Buckets, checking in live from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina on a Tuesday night. Because as our tagline says, we're a podcast for Southern sports fans. Male, female, doesn't matter. So tonight we're bringing you a special guest, courtesy of my co-host, Uncle Buck, Drew Gann. Drew, welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thanks for having me, Rusty. Glad to be on for another special edition podcast where typically on these special edition podcasts is because we get somebody to join us, and it's always fun to have someone join us. So, Rusty, you've been out of school a lot longer than I have. So I'm a class of 2011 graduate of Kossuth High School.
Young buck.
And so a lot of times when you get our age and you look back at high school, you'll wonder what everybody's doing now. And, you know, sometimes you get a doctor or a lawyer. And in bigger cities, if you go to bigger schools, you may have a professional ball player that you knew. And for us, I look back and I was like, man, what's everybody getting up to? And I see on Facebook that a good buddy of mine from back in high school has just won the International Finals Rodeo Saddle Bronc End of Year Championship. And so I called him and I'm like, you want to jump on the podcast with me? So, Kody, it's been a while, but welcome to the podcast. Everybody, welcome Kody Rinehart. How you doing, brother?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Just peachy. So,
thank y'all for having me on here too.
Oh, hey, the pleasure is all ours. So, first off, Kody, I've known you for a long time. I used to go riding horses with you out at your dad's farm out in Hinkle.
Since eighth grade.
Yeah, since eighth grade. I did seventh grade twice. I had so much fun. I did it again. And my second time through, I got in the same grade as Kody, and we got to be big buddies. And so he is my first and only experience in riding horses. And a quick story before we go down memory lane with Kody and see where he got started. I got to go ride horses with Kody. It sounded like a fun time. And it was a fun time the first couple times. And then Kody's daddy, Mr. Marty, and you know, if you know anybody, you can judge the merit of a rancher by how many fingers he has. And Marty doesn't have the full 10 anymore. And so you know he's good at what he does. And so I guess he thought I was better than I was. And so he used to put me on the horses that didn't know how to carry people yet. And about the third time getting bucked off and never went back. So me and Kody go way back.
He put him on a few green ones, and Drew finally learned not to come back. So
yeah, I've never for a minute tried to convince anybody that I was made to ride horses for a living or be a rodeo or maybe a clown, but nothing exciting. So
to put a little character representation of my father. Several of my rodeo friends when we were in high school and college, they nicknamed him John Wayne because he doesn't show any emotion or anything like that. He just straight face the whole time.
Yeah, he is very much the Sam Elliott character in The Ranch, if you've ever seen The Ranch.
Yes. Yeah. Spot on, mustache and all.
Yeah, so let's go back to the beginning. And I was doing some research and looking at you and seeing some of your rankings and some of your finishes in the past. And the first question that kept popping in my mind was, why? Why does anybody want to do this?
I get asked that every now and then. And I have to remind myself of why I'm in it and why I do it. Is simply, God put a desire in my heart to ride broncs and rodeo and the lifestyle, and I love riding broncs, and I get to use my platform that I have now to give back and share the gospel as well at times. So I guess you could say that's the why.
Hey, yeah, that's a good why as any.
I was reading in your bio, and it looks like you've got a degree in ministry from Blue Mountain College. Is that correct?
Yep, I've got two degrees actually, kind of. I guess you could say. I've got my bachelor's in Christian ministry with a minor in business, and then I've got another degree from East Mississippi with a welding and fabrications.
Yeah, so, see, the thing the three of us have in common, Kody, is that we have lots of college degrees, but only one of us is a doctor. So,
how many of us are actually using their degree currently is the better question.
I'm using my latest one.
Yes,
there you go.
I'm using my doctorate degree. I'm a physical therapist in Myrtle Beach, and I use it most days.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So why Broncs?
Well, I wasn't good at bull riding. I was a little bit too top heavy. Bareback riding, it didn't like me too much. I had to worry about sore shoulder, sore arm, sore back, then injuries after that. So, saddle bronc riding, it wasn't my first pick, but it kind of picked me. I was better at it, so I stuck with it, and it's paid off.
So for a saddle bronc rider, what's the build that you're looking for? You talked about being too top heavy for bull riders. I know those guys are really short and compact.
Yeah.
What's the build like for a saddle bronc?
It's really, with saddle bronc riding, it really doesn't matter. But you have to be an athlete. Like, you have to work out. You have to condition your body. You have to you got to invest in yourself to be able to do this for a living. The way that rodeo has evolved over the last 5-10 years, because there's so much money up, like, you've got to be an athlete. I guess you could say I put on a little poundage over the holidays, so I got to slim up before the summer gets here. But it really doesn't matter on the build. It's just if you do the work, if you invest in your body and put out, you get out what you put in. Right. So if you're investing in yourself and getting your body ready to go compete, then anybody can do it.
It sounds kind of like baseball. Used to, they'd play baseball on beer and hot dogs, and it doesn't sound like that's the way of rodeo anymore.
No, like 10, 15, 20 years ago, guys were, after the rodeos, they was going to the bars, going to the honky tonks, going to the party, drinking beer behind the chutes, smoking cigarettes left and right. There's still a bunch of them that smoke and dip and everything, but if you want to like I said, if you want to compete, if you want to make a living at it, because there's so much money up for grabs now, you've really got to put the effort in.
That's awesome. What I gained from that is that you said to ride bulls, it needed to be a little short and stocky. Is that right?
Yeah, you would have been perfect.
Yeah, there we go. So far, being the short and stocky type, I've learned that I could either race horses for the Derby, be a power lifter, or ride bulls. And so,
there you go.
Options.
There you go.
Yeah.
You just have to lose that like, kind of like me. Yours might be a little bit bigger though. That layer that's on your abs, because I know you have them.
Right.
They're just protected right now.
Protected. Yes. Yes. Yep. Noted.
Yeah, there you go.
There's reasons to lose that layer, but one of them is not going to be to get on the back of a bull.
Drew's thinking this redneck is calling me out on his own podcast. Hey. What a jerk.
If you see me in public, it's
Yeah, but Drew, I wouldn't quit your day job, sir. Those bulls get real angry when you get on their backs. I'm sure, much like the Broncs do, Kody. I grew up a kind of a somewhat fan of rodeos. My family's in South Mississippi. There was quite a few that would go around Quitman, Waynesboro, Meridian, Mississippi, and so saw a few there growing up. And it always seemed like when you got bucked off a bull, like you had to get out of Dodge because they were looking for vengeance.
Yep.
By and large, from what I saw growing up and what I've seen on TV, the horses aren't that way. They seem to be, once you get off of them, they seem to be at least a little bit satisfied and kind of get out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, like with bull riding, their career bulls until they're like 8 or 9. If you see one older than that, they're special, Mm-hmm. And with Broncs, like their career starts when they're 4 or 5 years old, and they're done. They can buck until they're 20, 30 years old. I've gotten on a 30-year-old Bronc one time at a school. He was older than I was at the time. But like, they're just, horses are different. They're not really headhunters. Some of them can be. I had one actually bite me this weekend whenever I was helping a guy in the bareback riding. but with the saddle bronc riding and the bareback riding, like after the 8 seconds is up and you've made your ride, you're double grabbing and you're getting off on the pickup man, and the pickup man's coming in and taking care of the horse and running it out. For the most part, like with colts, they've got to have a little bit of learning on what to do. But after horses figure it out, a lot of times after they hear that whistle, they're done themselves. So they quit
the
bucket.
horses learn when to stop. That's
yeah, they're smart. They're animals. They got a brain.
A lot smarter than them cows, I guess.
I guess I just always think, so you've got horses and the colts, you have to break and then they learn to ride. So I figured at one point these broncs would just go out of the chute and be like just broken walking horses at that point.
Well, like I have seen like several guys take some broncs that weren't going to make it. Like they weren't going to be bucking horses and take them and break them and ride them and end up being pickup horses as well. There's actually a picture of two sisters, two real splashed up, pretty draft cross bucking horses, and the pickup man is riding one of them, and the guy that just got off his horse was on a bronc, and they're side by side. One of them's a bucking horse, one of them's a pickup horse. So that was actually a really neat thing. Backstory, I guess you could say, but yeah, it's just all animals are different. All broncs are different, Some of them make it, some of them don't.
Yeah. What is there a certain? And I know just enough about horses to be dangerous, but is there certain breeds that are better for bucking, better for pickup horses? Does it really matter?
Well, you wouldn't want to ride a Shetland,
Disagree there.
Drew might
exactly the horse I don't want to be on.
I mean, any horse can buck. Like if they've got back legs, they can buck. But I will say, like you do want to breed for buckers. So like the night jackets, the lunatic fringes of the bucking stock industry, those studs, like you want that bloodline on your stock because they're going to be worth more just because of their name, but their genetics are in there to buck. Like they've got it down to a science. Genetics is so crazy nowadays. Like what they can do, what they can pull out. Like I will not say, I'll never say that the horses and bulls are ranker now than they've ever been, because there's always been rank bulls. There's always been rank horses since the 40s and 50s, whenever rodeo got started. But there's just so much more of them because they can mass produce them now.
Right. That makes sense. I never thought about, you always hear about the breed line in competitive racing horses. I never thought that there would be a bloodline that you would trace back that would be valuable in bucking broncs.
Yes. There's a ton. Let me see if I can remember. There's a ton of horses in the bucking stock industry now, except for like one or two that go back to a draft cross that was named Wolf something. He was a big gray horse.
I know exactly
like
the one you're talking about.
Yeah, but they've kind of like
cross-pollinated a little bit.
Well, not cross-pollinated, but cross-referenced all these bucking stock with genetics back to this certain bloodline from whenever rodeo first started in America.
Well, let me change gears a little bit, Kody, because something in my research has bugged me. And one thing you'll learn about me is that I am casual, and I have worked in a career in an industry before in which you had to dress up for work, business casual. Yep. And so I've had this war on business casual. For instance, worked in a call center, and for some reason, even though I never saw the light of day or customers, I had to wear slacks and button downs, and I had to do that in another career where I interned as an engineer in an office, and I had to wear slacks and button downs. And I just think it's garbage. I'm not.
Sounds depressing.
Yeah, it was. The first one drove me to college, and the second one drove me to a different job within the same career. And so I always feel like, you're salesmen, you're doctors, you're lawyers. I understand the dress code and whatnot. But why in the world, to get on a horse that's going to buck you off, do you have to wear collars, like button-down shirts? It seems like you should just be wearing chainmail, or at least just like a dry-fit shirt,
Whenever you think of a cowboy, what do you think of?
That's my point. So why we should get away from that, right?
Why?
I would disagree.
Comfort.
I'm a fan of the pink, like the bright color shirts that you see a lot of these guys wear. Like, I think there's always a chance, you're going to get thrown up in the air. You might as well look good while you're doing it. Right, Kody?
I mean, you're dressed for your casket, right?
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. All right. Look good, feel good. One. Okay. We can all agree on that.
Okay.
Look good. If you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you ride good. If you ride good, it pays good. So that being said, also, I'm an adjudged event. Okay.
Okay.
I'm an adjudged event. So whenever I show up, if I'm riding the same caliber of horse and same caliber of my technique, of my skill level with this other guy, but if I've got a clean hat on, if I got a nice shirt that's been starched jeans, got the crease, if my chaps and vest are clean, they look good, I look good, I look clean, versus this guy that's got a dingy looking hat on, wrinkly shirt, wrinkly jeans. His stuff looks like it hasn't been cleaned in 5 years. It has mold on it. In your opinion, who do you think would be the higher score?
Well, I rest my case in that, because I'm ignorant to this. I'm going to give it that to you. If you ride,
he admitted it.
I admitted it.
And it's recorded.
I'm ignorant to rodeo. So if appearance, if the showmanship quality is judged in bronc riding and rodeo, then I rest my case.
It's technically not. It's not supposed to be. But because we are human, and we see this guy that's actually clean cut and looks good versus not, in our minds, if they're riding even though they're riding the same, he looks better, I'm going to mark him a point or two higher.
Yeah, that leads kind of into the next conversation, and I think that it's a good segue. So, is it a 100-point scale that the ride is judged on?
It is. So 50 points is awarded to the horse, 50 points is awarded to the rider. Mm-hmm. And so whenever you break that up too, it's divided between two judges. So you get that 50 points is divided up with the judges on that. So they get 25 points to judge off of on the horse, and then the rider too. So you get 25-point judging, which equals 50.
Right.
So the rider and the animal are judged.
Mm-hmm. And then in that technique, I know like the offhand is not supposed to touch the animal.
Yep, your free hand can't touch anything.
What other points are they looking for there for our listeners that don't know much about saddle bronc riding, like our ignorant co-host here? What are some other points they're looking for?
Listeners and co-hosts.
So for the saddle bronc riding, it's you got your free hand up, whatever, and then your riding hand is on your rein that you got to keep hold of. If you let go of your rein, it's a disqualification. Your feet's in stirrups. If you lose your stirrups, it's a disqualification. If you don't get your mark out, it's a disqualification. So you're looking to set your feet, have a strong mark out whenever the horse comes out. And by mark out, I mean your feet have to be above the points of the shoulders on the horse whenever he takes that first step out or first jump out. And then after you get your mark out, you start going at them and spurring them. Spurring back to your saddle and setting your feet again. Lifting on your rein, keeping your shoulders back, staying square.
Interesting.
So yeah, absolutely. And you talk about like the bucking horses. I want to circle back to them for just a minute. You talked about you have to be an athlete. You have to train,
Yep.
go to the gym and work out. Is there a training regimen for the horses or do they just naturally buck?
Uh, yes and no. Like your top stock contractors, because I mean it's a money thing for them too. If you've got, because they're athletes. I mean, if they're hauling up and down the road and then they're getting kicked out to go perform for 8, maybe 16 seconds a weekend if they get bucked twice. If the stock contractor is doing what they're doing what they're supposed to, then they're getting them in shape. They're feeding them out right. They're making them look good, feel good, so that they can go perform. Because if they perform good, they get better rodeos. If they get better rodeos and have good horses and good bulls, then they get horses to the finals and bulls to the finals, and that pays as well.
So there's more than just the riders are competing in this.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, they are like everybody's goal as far as stock contractors. Everybody's goal is to get their stock to the finals because that's where they get to showcase their animals. And they get, if they make the NFR, which is in Vegas, they get paid pretty good for bringing their stock. So,
let me ask you about this. So, back going on a decade ago now, I was in a band that went coast to coast for a summer, and
yep.
Coming off of that, we had an RV and we stayed in campsites and lived the life for a month or so, and
down by the river.
Yeah, yeah, in a van down by the river, and so the life is different. The life that you live is different than what most people can sympathize with. I see that you've got your own Sprinter van, and you live on the road, and you come back home and see mom and daddy, and and Corey on the off weekends or over the off season. What is it like? How do you like living on the road like that?
I enjoy it a lot. Like I've traveled every way you can. We're bumming places to stay, to having a truck and camper, to staying in a van, which the van's converted, and that's the best way to go for me, just because it's so easy to get around, get in and out of rodeos. And whenever I'm ready to go to sleep, I can pull over and sleep right there. Like it's just find me a nice, safe truck stop, and
get you a couple lot lizards and
yeah, there you go. Stay away.
Yeah.
Just, ma'am, can you please sign the ledger at the door?
Yeah. So yeah, the reason why I ask is that when we were doing that and I came home, I had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you live a rock star lifestyle.
Yeah. But then when you come home, I'm just like, I don't know that I could do this for the rest of my life. Yeah. Is that something you struggle with? Is that I mean, you've obviously, to do something like that, to be in a touring rock band or to, play music or to rodeo or anything else, you've got to love that lifestyle. Is that something that that's got to be awesome though, if you love it?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we technically get to live the rock star lifestyle because we get to go entertain people on the weekends and then get to win money. We don't get paid like rock stars.
Neither did we.
Our pay is based off of how we ride and what we draw. So sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. So, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do it unless I loved it.
Right.
That's awesome, life's too short for that.
That's it. Where are you checking in from tonight? Are you back home? Is this your off season or where are you at?
So I'm coming off my off season now. Actually, I just got back from the IFR, which was in Oklahoma City. And it's Raleigh, North Carolina. So I'll be kind of close to you. Mm-hmm. Not really, but then next week, I go to Fort Worth, Texas on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then I got to come back for Philadelphia, Mississippi for the weekend. Then the next weekend I've got something down in Biloxi, Mississippi, and then I'm gun ho 2-3 rodeos a weekend till summer, and then whenever summer gets here, I'll be gone.
How many rodeos do you average in a year?
Probably about 100, 120.
Shoo.
So yeah,
That's getting it.
it is. It is. I went from, let's see, this last year was technically my rookie season in the PRCA, and I went to 80 of those, and then in the IPRA, I just went to about 40 of them, along with some other amateur rodeos here and there. So I actually probably went to more than that this last year.
All right, you bring it up. Oh, go ahead, Rexy.
Last question. Speaking of that, or last question for now, like in professional baseball, they've got like the major leagues, AAA, AA, single A. They've kind of got tiers to it.
Yeah.
I'm sure y'all have got something similar because you mentioned amateur rodeos, the IFR. Like, what are the levels to rodeo?
Yeah. So there's, pro rodeo is pro rodeo. I mean, that's basically what it is. If you have a professional event, it's a professional event. How it's run might be a little bit different. There's some amateur associations. There's a ton of them here in the Southeast. But the two major rodeo associations are the PRCA and the IPRA. And I guess you could look at it as St. Louis Cardinals and the Memphis Redbirds, I guess.
Right.
If you wanted. Like, PRCA is the top of the top. That's where the big money is. Like, there's a guy that almost won $1 million just in the regular season and at the finals this year in the all-around. And then like in the IPRA, I'll explain it this way. To me, it's more like blue collar, white collar.
Mm-hmm.
White collar is the PRCA, where they're like making a living at it. That's what they do. That's all they're all about. Where the IPRA is more of kind of a blue collar, where they still have jobs during the week, and then they get to go rodeo on the weekend and
earn a little extra cash.
Yeah, and then guys like me that's hitting both really hard. So, trying to.
In order to get on that professional circuit, like we have a fantasy football league, and my co-host didn't do real well this year, right?
No, this isn't a fantasy football podcast. Keep talking.
As a punishment, could we sign him up for a professional rodeo, or would it have to be an amateur?
I would go amateur. He would have to go amateur, yeah.
Except instead of riding a bull, let me ride one of those goats. Or is that just for kids?
That still might be too tall for you to jump on.
Let's hope he doesn't have rubber boots.
No, I have a pair of boots. So. Well, so real quick, let's go back to the start. We're not going to keep you much longer, but I'm curious to how you got started with this. I remember when we were in high school and we were eating dinner at my mama Kate's house. And you told her, you said, so this weekend I think I'm going to get on a bull. And I'm sure she gave you the same response everybody did, was like, are you trying to die? So from that point, you were hooked. And you worked your way into saddle broncs and found your passion found your niche within the rodeo. From that point, how do you get to here? Is it just busting your tail and hitting every rodeo and getting good, or is there a path that people follow?
So there's a path I followed, and there's a path that I recommend. I got on my first bull when I was 16 years old, and I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And then whenever I was 17, I finally got everything and started going to just a podunk, wouldn't even say association, just rodeo production around here, and going to practice pens, going and getting on everything I could. Like I give up playing football my senior year so I could go rodeo or be able to rodeo. And that same year, my senior year, I tried getting on some bareback horses and getting on some saddle broncs, and started, figuring out what I really wanted to do. I had gotten a scholarship in the bareback riding to a school, and looking back, I wish I would have went, but I knew I wasn't supposed to, so I didn't. Because I feel like it would have really took off my rodeo career a little earlier
Right.
Because being in the Southeast, just like, for example, what's the most popular sport here in the Southeast?
Football.
Football. Exactly. What's the most popular sport in Wyoming and Montana?
Okay.
Yeah.
Point taken.
So growing up in the Southeast and not being in a rodeo family, there wasn't really anywhere for me to practice or learn. But I got with some good people around my senior year, freshman year of college, that kind of pointed me in the right direction. And I started going to rodeo schools, bull riding schools. And then whenever I give that up and started saddle bronc riding, I really hammered on saddle bronc riding schools to learn from the best and use that. Because, the old phrase of practice makes perfection, but perfect practice makes perfect execution. So if you're learning the right things at the right time, then you can excel a lot earlier. So finished college, and whenever I finished college, I had made the college finals and went to Casper, Wyoming, and I stayed out there all summer and went to Kody, Wyoming, which has the night show, which is a 90-day rodeo right outside of Yellowstone. So you can go up there. The entry fees are cheap, and you can get on every single night if you want to, if your body can hold up, and really hone in whatever profession that you're doing in rodeo. And that's what I did. And then the second time I did that, I'd already bought my car in the IPRA, and the second year I was up there for the full summer, I ended up breaking my neck, and that's because of me breaking my neck. I started investing in myself more because I realized, this is actually dangerous.
Right.
It took you that long?
My career I took it for granted, I took it for granted and realized, if I really want to do this, then I really have to invest in myself. So that's whenever I started working out. Because I broke my neck is why I started working out. And it's turned my bronc riding around. I worked out by myself for a few years just on my own stuff, and then I got on with Camping Living Fitness, which is designed for rodeo athletes. And whenever I jumped on with them, that took my bronc riding to a whole new level. So I say all this to whoever is listening that wants to rodeo. Learn from people that have been there and learn from the best. Invest in yourself early, go to schools, work out, get on a regular program that is designed specifically for you. Having a trainer is so worth it. Getting on a program that is designed for you and give it your all every single time. Give it your all every single day. Because, our life's short and rodeo career is even shorter. Because, saddle bronc riders, they're top until they can, their top age whenever they retire is probably about 38, 39, 40 years old.
Right.
So then you got the rest of your life. So if you're going to do it, give it your all every single day.
So that's a phenomenal point, man. The thing I got to worry about at work is a paper cut or my feet getting tired. So cannot relate to breaking a neck, man. That's incredible to see you bounce back from that. And kind of a follow up question. You're talking about like rodeo and like kind of traveling, rodeo and together. You mentioned earlier that you helped with some of the bareback stuff. That's what got you bit this past weekend.
Yeah.
My exposure to rodeo a little bit in high school. I went to high school with Aaron Rainey, who did team pinning, and Will Bradley, who did some team roping.
I know them both.
Are y'all's events, are they on the same night? Would you help with those events, or those on different nights? How does like a traditional rodeo work in that sense?
So the team pinning is just totally different from rodeo, but Will's a calf roper, and I think he team ropes too. So me and him have traveled together too. Like we went all the way up to Michigan for a rodeo with a big group of us. But like for a normal rodeo, it's you start out with the bareback riding, or you start out with a national anthem, of course. Gotta have something patriotic.
Right.
Yep. There you go. Start with the bareback riding, then you move to the calf roping or steer wrestling, team roping.
Which has always just befuddled me. These guys will jump off a perfectly good horse, snatch a cow up by his head, and wrestle it to the ground. That is impressive.
Yep. And then team roping. Then you come back with saddle bronc riding, calf roping, breakaway roping, barrel racing, bull riding.
So when you guys go to travel and you're in your busy season, this is the last question I've got because I have been curious about this. You're going from, say, Kody, Wyoming, and your next ride is in Georgia. Or is there a caravan of rodeoers like you got the when NASCAR moves from one race to the other? You go down the interstate and it's nothing but semis pulling NASCARs.
Sometimes it's like that. So like during the summer run, like Cowboy Christmas, whenever July gets here, that's our bread and butter. You can go to 2, 3, maybe even 4 rodeos a day if you hit it just right. But that's booking it, and then you better have an airplane too. So like you will see herds of us, convoys of of truck and campers, vans, or truck and trailers headed from one rodeo to another. But as far as going from Kody, Wyoming to Georgia, whoever's doing that schedule better get a better agent.
Yeah. So I appreciate you hopping on with us, Kody.
You bet, buddy.
Real quick, tell us. I Googled PRCA rodeo, and the first thing that popped up was February 4th in Tupelo, Mississippi. They're having an event. I don't know if you're taking part in that, but just take a second here to tell us where we can find you if we want to watch, where we can watch and where there's a schedule where we can keep up with you.
Yeah, give your social medias as well so people can follow you and keep up with you.
Yeah, so anybody can look me up on Facebook or Instagram. Kody Rinehart, professional saddle bronc rider on Facebook, and then Born Again Ruffy on Instagram is the handle on that. But as far as my schedule, like I said, I'm at Raleigh, and if y'all have the Cowboy channel, if you don't, you got to download it or whatever, but and buy it. Subscribe is the word I was looking for.
There you go.
Raleigh, North Carolina this weekend will be on the Cowboy channel. Fort Worth on Tuesday and Wednesday will be on the Cowboy channel as well. The 2 deals that I've got after that in Philadelphia and Biloxi, that's not going to be televised or anything like that. But I'm going to miss Tupelo, but I will be in Corinth at the end of February, and I'm pretty good at posting my schedule and letting everybody keep up with that. So be watching just on my social medias, and I'll have that posted pretty regular.
And just for clarity for everybody who doesn't know Kody, that's Kody with a K, Kody Rinehart, on his Facebook, and his Instagram is Born Again Ruffy. That's Born Again, one word, _Ruffy. That's ROUGHY. I just looked it up just to make sure.
I'll make sure to put all that information in the episode description so you can find and follow him and make sure that you can keep up with him and learn more about rodeo, which is one of the more unheralded sports, unfortunately, in our country. But it's a fun one to watch and a fun one to keep up with for sure. And
I'll shoot you straight. I haven't watched rodeo in a long time, but after talking to you, I'm definitely interested, and I'm always looking for more things to keep up with. So I'll tune in. Go get, you called it the Cowboy Network, right? To go keep up with you on the rodeo circuit.
The Cowboy, it's on the Cowboy channel.
The Cowboy channel. Okay.
Yeah, that's the name of it. And Drew, if you come to Corinth, I know my mechanical bull will be there.
Hey.
So I want to get a taste of it.
Do you bring those to birthday parties?
I could give you a free ride. I do, actually, yes.
Okay, my daughter
turns whoever I hire out.
Yeah, my daughter turns 1, and her birthday party is February the 4th. You want to bring that to a church in Ryan's, Mississippi? I promise you, I'll get on it.
With her turning 1, is it BYOB? Bring your own bottle.
Yes, yeah, bottle, but I will have to inspect the label. So it's at my grandmother's church. So
Ooh,
There you go.
yeah.
so yeah. Well, Rusty, you got anything else before we wind down with Kody?
I do got one last question, Kody, and I think it's be interesting for me and for our listeners for sure. But what goes through your mind as you're hopping on that horse, you're strapping in, you're tying your hand in? Like, walk us through what's going through your mind, like your prep, your checks before that gate opens and your world turns upside down.
So, I go through all my checks on what I got to have on my saddle correct and my rein measurement. But I learned early about having a hyper body, but a sound mind. So it's muscle memory. That's why training and doing things correctly, creating that muscle memory to react to what the Bronc does, and finding that timing. So it's just, I clear my head, tell myself to believe in myself and to keep gassing and go at him. I know a lot of people make fun of me for it, but before I climb on the horse, I'll slap myself. But that's just, and then I'll climb on. But that's just my trigger to tell me to it's go time. Yep, that's basically it.
Right. They I can't remember who it was. There was an NBA player one time that said, basically before I start, the person who I'm guarding that day, I picture him slapping my mama, and that's what got him going. So, kind of the same thing, except you slap yourself.
That's incredible.
That's pretty good.
Well, Kody, man, this has been phenomenal. We really appreciate you joining us tonight and opening our eyes a little bit to the world of rodeo. I know our listeners appreciate it. I appreciate to learn some stuff tonight and get to know a cool guy like yourself, man. This has been great. I really enjoyed it and appreciate you being here.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate y'all.
Hey, thanks, Kody. We'll keep up with you.
Sounds good.
Again, I'll put all the socials in the episode description. Make sure you can keep up with him. Guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see y'all tomorrow night.